Today, we're going to talk about the incredible ripple effect of AI. Because this isn't just about creating some new apps or gadgets. This is a technology that is fundamentally changing how corporations work, how nations talk to each other, and even the basic rules of how the internet itself operates. So let's just kick things off with a pretty wild question that's being thrown around in some very serious financial circles. Could AI actually trigger an extinction-level event for a massive slice of the stock market? The number that some big-time investors are putting out there is 20%. Just let that sink in. 1 out of every 5 publicly traded companies just gone. And maybe even within the next 5 years. And this isn't just some random guess. That warning comes straight from the chief investment officer at All Alonso's Global Investors. He's basically saying we're heading into a period where adapting to AI isn't just a good strategy, it's about survival. It's actually led to this new term, digital Darwinism. The idea is simple but powerful. AI has become this new evolutionary pressure on the business world. The companies that figure out how to integrate it will thrive, and the ones that don't, well, they might just go the way of the dinosaurs.
So let's dig into this first ripple, this absolutely brutal sink-or-swim world of digital Darwinism.
And you might think, okay, this is just about small companies and startups failing. But that's not it at all. This pressure, this digital Darwinism, is hitting some of the absolute biggest players in the game. I mean, just take a look at SAP. This is Europe's most valuable software company. They already went through one huge, painful transition to the cloud, and they won. But here's the thing. That growth is expected to start tapering off after 2027. So now, even after winning the last war, they are under enormous pressure to pivot all over again, this time to AI, just to stay where they are. It's relentless. So all this chaos in the corporate world, it's forcing a much, much bigger conversation on the world stage. And that brings us to our second ripple, the intense global debate over who gets to make the rules for this technology. And when I say world stage, I mean the highest levels. The United Nations is trying to wrap its head around how to manage AI's impact on everything, from global peace and security to things like food supplies. The stakes really couldn't be higher. Now, going into these high-stakes discussions, you had a group of over 200 really prominent public figures pushing for a big international agreement. Their whole goal was to set up these clear, binding international red lines. Basically, a list of things that we all agree AI should never, ever be allowed to do. But then, the countermove. And it was a big one. Michael Katsios from the White House came out and delivered this incredibly blunt message, basically rejecting any UN-led governance. He framed it as a threat to American innovation and freedom. And right there, you see the two completely different futures we could be heading towards. On one side, you've got this vision of global governance, where everyone works together to manage the risks. On the other side, you've got a vision of national sovereignty, where every country is free to innovate as fast as possible to drive progress. It's this huge ideological clash, and honestly, there's no easy answer in sight. So, with the world's governments kind of stuck in a staring contest, the private sector is just jumping right into that power vacuum. And this third ripple shows how companies are now making up their own rules, essentially rewriting the social contract of the internet as they go. Okay, to get this, you've got to know about this tiny little file that's been quietly running the internet for decades. It's called robots.txt. Think of it like a bouncer at a club. It's just a simple text file on a website that tells all the bots and web crawlers, hey, you can go here, but you are not allowed in there. So why on earth are we talking about this obscure little file right now? Because we are on the verge of a full-on bot takeover. Projections show that by 2029, there's going to be more bot traffic online than human traffic. That explosion is being driven almost entirely by these new AI crawlers. And this is where the old bargain of the internet completely breaks down. See, the old deal was a search engine could crawl your website, but in return, it sent you real human traffic that you could make money from. These new AI crawlers, they break that deal. They scrape all your content to train their AI models, but they often give nothing back. No traffic, no credit, nothing. So the internet infrastructure company Cloudflare is stepping in and proposing a new system. The idea is to upgrade that old robots.txt file. They want to add new categories so a website owner can tell the difference between a regular old search engine bot and a new AI training bot. It would give creators the power to say yes to one and no to the other. But as you can imagine, a lot of people are uneasy about one private company becoming the de facto rulemaker. As the commentator Jeff Jarvis perfectly put it,
Who died and made Cloudflare a cop of AI? It's a really fair question, and it just highlights this tension that happens when companies start setting public policy because governments can't or won't.
All right, so we've covered corporate warfare and global political showdowns. But beyond all that conflict, there is a fourth ripple. And this one is actually really constructive. We're seeing how this exact same technology can be an incredible force for public good. Because for all of the disruption it causes, AI is also this phenomenal tool for making sense of immense complexity. It can unlock information that, for all practical purposes, was totally inaccessible before. A fantastic example of this in action is Google's Data Commons project. For years, they've been gathering this gigantic collection of public data from sources like the UN, the Census Bureau, you name it. The problem was the data set was so huge and messy that it was almost impossible for anyone to actually use. But now, by applying AI, Google has made all of that data instantly searchable for scientists, developers, and researchers. It's a game changer, turning this ocean of raw data into actual usable knowledge. So you can see AI isn't just another product. It's a tidal wave. It's reshaping corporate survival, it's rewriting global politics, and it's changing the fundamental rules of the web itself. It creates enormous value and enormous conflict, all at the same time. And all of that leaves us with this one absolutely critical question. As this technology rewrites all the rules, who is actually going to own the future?